We good? Well, good afternoon. Thank you to the media for coming, and we appreciate the coverage because it does matter. I'm Stephen Parry. I'm the Public Safety Commissioner for the City of Providence. This press conference is just to acknowledge and report what we've seen over the past not only year but the past 8 years and further with the good work of the men and women that are behind me on the streets of Providence, taking weapons like this and preventing so much crime from happening. So let me introduce the mayor, Jorge Alonso, who has, as I've always said, every day he and I communicate about public safety matters and particularly crime that happened the previous 24 hours. And I appreciate his support and his drive and giving us the resources in public safety to make a difference keeping our city safe. So, Mayor Jorge Alonso. Thank you, Mayor.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining us this morning. So, as the Commissioner mentioned, we have a number of bits of information to report, but the most important message that I want to stress today is, we're standing here with men and women, with men from the police department, and so much of what we're going to share today is really a testament to the work they do every single day, fighting crime and keeping our city safe. So I want to say thank you to the men and women of our police department, some of whom are represented here today, and much of what I'm going to go over today, you all should take a great deal of pride in because it's very, very positive. I also want to thank the Commissioner of Public Safety, Stephen Parry, and our Police Chief, Hugh Clements. Under your guidance and your leadership, we've seen a remarkable leap forward in not only the professionalism, but the outreach to the community and the results in terms of lower crime here in our city. So I trust everybody has a copy of this printout. I'm just going to walk folks through it. So, we put data going back to 2010, so we're talking about the last 12 years, and it really is remarkable. One of the challenges is that the perception of crime and the reality of crime sometimes completely diverge. Crime is not only down, but it's down at historically low levels. Yet when you speak with folks, I think that if you would poll folks and ask them what the crime situation is like, perhaps more than 50% would say that crime is as bad as it's ever been. That's clearly not the case, but I hope that accurately presenting this data and this information to folks on a regular basis can help folks sort of assess what the true situation is and better align the reality and the perception of crime. So let me jump into this. At a very broad level, property crime in the city of Providence over the past 12 years has declined 40%. Actually, one more bit of clarifying information before I jump into the data. You'll notice that many of these graphs, they have the asterisk at the end, the estimated December 5-year weighted average, just to give you a sense of what that number actually is. So we have year-to-date numbers up through December 5th. And then to fill in the rest of December, we did a 5-year weighted average. So what the crime has been in that category for the past 5 years, we've extrapolated for the rest of December. And the reality is that the number that you see there in the asterisk, that's a conservative estimate because the number at the end of the year is likely going to be less than that. But just wanted to clarify exactly what that number means. So property crime offenses, you'll see that they're down 40% over the past 12 years. This is as a whole. But as you break it down even further, I remember when I first became mayor, there was a rash of burglaries. And I remember folks in the community reaching out to me and letting me know just how frightening it is. When someone breaks into your home, it could happen while you're gone, but it could happen while you're there. It is certainly something that shakes you to the core, and it was a priority that we get on top of it. under the leadership of the Commissioner and the Chief and targeted enforcement, we were able to continue to bring this number down so that in the past 12 years now, we've seen a reduction of almost 80%. In fact, there's been a reduction of about 78% over the past 12 years. That's an unheard ofly low number for burglaries. But as you can see, and the police continue doing their work and their job, and we hope to continue pushing that number further lower in the coming years. As far back as our records go, the burglary offenses have never been as low as we see them today. Flipping over onto the back of that page, then switching from property crime to violent crime. And this number refers to Part 1, FBI Part 1 violent crimes. You'll see that there's been a 38% reduction over the past 12 years in violent crime as a whole, and that's broken down in a number of different ways. So moving over into the next full page, where you see robbery offenses for the full year. You know, again, when you think about quality of life, you think about the kinds of crime that, you know, that shake you to the core. Certainly property crime where someone breaks into your house as a burglary, but also instances where there's a robbery. And those are the instances that can happen to anyone, including if you're just minding your own business. And so those have been the kind of things that deserve special attention, because if it happens to one person, it frightens an entire community and an entire neighborhood. So you'll see that on robberies, that number has declined by 68% over the past 12 years. Again, the numbers aren't just down, but they're down at historically low levels. And for anyone who either lives in the city or is considering visiting and spending some time in the city, you should know that the reality is that your chance of being a victim of a random robbery are as low as they have ever been. And there are two ways to look at trends in crime. The first is to compare Providence today to where Providence was in the past. And as we're going through this data, you can see that crime is way down. But then there's also comparing Providence today to other comparable cities today. And when you do that comparison, you also see that Providence is a low crime city, especially for a major capital city. And so that's something that we should all take a great deal of pride in, and certainly push back when folks say that things are as bad as they've ever been. You know, as a matter of fact, that's not true. Moving down to aggravated assaults, you see that aggravated assaults have ebbed and flowed over the past 12 years, but there's a very clear trend downward. And in fact, this year we expect to finish the year with about 29% reduction in aggravated assaults over the past 12 years. And so, you know, again, that's another situation where, you know, folks want to feel safe when they're in the city and out and about town. And it's certainly safer today than it has been in the past here in the city of Providence. Moving over into perhaps the most serious kinds of crimes, shootings and homicides. And so this graph here shows that from 2010 there was a bump up to 2011, but from 2011 there's been a steady decline year over year right up until the beginning of the pandemic. Once the pandemic hit, there was a marked shift up. You see that in the years 2020 and 2021. But now that we're through the worst of the pandemic, those numbers are coming back down. And as you can see from this chart, absent 2019, and 2019 was really a banner year. It was the lowest that we've ever had on record in terms of shooting incidents. And 2022 is going to be or knock on wood, if the trend continues for the next 2 weeks, is going to be the second lowest year when it comes to shooting incidents and shooting victims in the city of Providence. And I'm going to add a little bit more flesh to this in a way that I think makes these numbers even more significant. If you flip the page and then go to the next graph, you know what makes the low number of shootings so significant is the fact that there are so many guns out there on the streets. As you see displayed right here in front of us, these are guns that have been confiscated since the last time we came together, including 3 ghost guns. But this is just a small sampling of the guns that our police department has taken off the streets over the course of this year. And in fact, the number of guns that they're taking off the streets, particularly in these last couple of years, has skyrocketed. That's a function of good police work, but it's also a function of just more guns being out there, out on the streets. So the fact that shootings as a whole are down significantly is even that much more impressive. So, I certainly tip my hat to the work of the police department and everything that they've done to take these guns off the streets. Two more points as you flip to the last page. So this breaks down that same shooting and victims data in 6-month intervals, giving you a little bit more granular sense of what happens on a 6-month basis. What's not depicted here is the number of homicides that we've had over this same period of time. So far this year we've had 8 truly terrible and unfortunate incidents, crimes where someone has lost their lives. So we've had 8 homicides this year. However, when you compare where we are this year to where we've been in the past, we've never been this low, this late in the year in 50 years. In fact, the last time the city of Providence finished the year with less than double-digit homicides was the year 1972, exactly 50 years ago. So, we're not fully home yet. We still have a couple of weeks, and we hope that there won't be a single one of these incidents. But we're certainly hoping that this number remains at historically low levels. You're going to hear in a second from our police chief. We're going to give an update on the license plate readers. As you know, we have 25 license plate readers that have been installed throughout the city, and we have an additional 60 license plate readers that are in the process of being installed or will be installed within the next 30 days. And 30 days from now, we expect those license plate readers to go live. And just as we did the last time that we did this, is we want to put the word out. We want to put the word out that if you're someone who is engaged in serious crime here in the city of Providence, with these license plate readers, your chances of being caught have just skyrocketed. And so I hope folks take that into account, and that deters even more folks from engaging in this kind of activity, and hopefully it all keeps our city much, much safer going forward. So that's what I have to report, and I want to end my comments in the same place where I started. None of this happens on its own. It happens because we have an amazing police department, men and women that are out there fighting crime every day, working to keep us safe, while at the same time building relationships with the community so that we create safe and healthy communities that everyone feels safe and comfortable in. So my hat goes off to all the men and women in our police department and everyone out there in the community that works with our police department to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Next, I'll call upon the Police Chief of Providence, Hugh Clemens, to make a few remarks. I will say, as I've done in the past, as we display these weapons, they're great and they're off the streets, but it takes a lot of work for the seizure and a lot of times the apprehension of someone that's responsible for carrying these guns. So these don't come easy. The police officers work hard. They target where they think people will be carrying illegal guns. And as the mayor has said, there's a lot of guns on the street. And we're not going to wrest our way out of it. But those people that have ghost guns and illegal guns, the message is out that you are in a city that has the finest police officers to apprehend and seize these weapons to keep our community safe. So, Chief Hugh Clemens for a few remarks. Colonel?
Thank you for attending and covering this important event. Commissioner, thank you. Mayor, thank you. This was the mayor's idea to cover these staggering reductions in crime. I've been around policing in this city police department a long time. Never in the history of this department have they been down this low. The numbers are incredible, and as identified, you know, I thank and praise the women and men of the Providence Police Department every day for their commitment they give to this community, and it's done through strong leadership. In the room today, Lieutenant Jeanette, Downtown Commander, Lieutenant Nick Ludovici, who's done so much in this organization, and Captain Roger Aspinall, who formerly was a Downtown Lieutenant. I will say we are a data-driven organization. We have been for a very long time. The numbers, they're just numbers, but the mayor wanted to report on this because they really are drastic reductions like we haven't seen before on violent crime, on burglaries, on robbery, shootings. On the flip side, significant upticks in the seizure of firearms, and those are not easy arrests. And these weren't done with a couple of big investigations. There were some interspersed within there, but predominantly this year, there was no one unit that outshined the others to any great degree. In fact, Patrol had a huge amount of these gun seizures this year, and it was broken up into the shifts. The day shift, the 3 to 11 shift, and that outlast shift. They seized a lot of firearms, and it's incredible work. And these are not data-driven, looked at numbers that are in 1% and 2% reductions. You're seeing numbers like 38%, 49%, in the 70% drops. And it's important to look at, not year to year. We've done this a long time. You want to look at trends, because year to year, they have the tendency to spike and dip, and trend downward, which we had been doing for the 10 years. But it's better to look at the 5-year trend and see where you were 5 years ago and 10 years ago, and you will see that drastic reduction. And people will ask, you know, I speak to colleagues regionally, nationally, all the time. And there were reductions going on in innovative, progressive police department cities throughout the country, and we were one of them. We were leading the pack. And then in 2019, 2020, the pandemic and everybody shot up, including Providence, Rhode Island, to significantly high numbers. And then we dropped back down. So the question would be, why did Providence get back and recalibrate so quickly? And I say it's because of the strong foundation that we have as a model and game plan in this organization and our partners. We routinely partner up with so many social service groups, and that's why we are where we are. There's buy-in from the rank and file. There's buy-in in each of those units: patrol, detectives, narcotics, traffic, YSB, and there's buy-in in concert with our partners. Additionally, technology has helped us significantly. So the mayor spoke that I would identify that flock cameras. We embarked on a journey, a mission a while back to announce that we were going to move towards license plate readers. And we did that on May 23rd. We made the public aware. We put out for some feedback. We received several emails from the public. We heard their comments. We tweaked what our response and policy would be, and then we implemented the license plate reader program, like we did 5 years ago with the body-worn camera program. We were the first in New England to go department-wide. But on license plate readers, we had 25, which was a pilot program with no monetary cost to the city for that pilot program that they gave to 70 cities around the country. We were one. And we've had success. It's been effective. And we knew early on that to be truly effective in improving the quality of life in all of the 25 neighborhoods in this city, that we would need far more than 25. And that's when we put out on August 15th, we went through the proper course of action through the mayor's office, through the city council, and we looked at adding another 60. We went through that exercise, and here we are in December. We're ready to put that technology up, the plus 60. We had to work on some nuances with some of the polls that we were working on, but within a month, those 60 cameras will be up. We think we'll quadruple the effectiveness that we've had with the addition of this technology, license plate readers. We use other technology that has been helpful in these reductions in crime, including conversations and intelligence with our community and our neighbors in the form of home security cameras, one of which is Ring, but there are several. And there are social media applications out there where the public can report what their home security cameras are seeing. And in turn, we can report back to the public and give them awareness of what information and intelligence we have. And I bring that up because in the last couple of weeks, in this Christmas time of year, we've identified and apprehended several porch pirates, stealing gifts off porches for families trying to provide, during this joyous part of the year. And we have the criminal element out there breaking into cars, going up on porches, stealing gifts. But this technology is important. Both LPRs, our communications with the community on home surveillance cameras. And again, many are asking, many of my colleagues, what is the recipe? What is the magic? Because your reductions are staggering. They really are. And that's not happening everywhere. And it really is the men and women of this police department, but as well, it's our partnerships, it's our playbook. And I have to add, during the course of a year, we have many large-scale events. And there really is a lot of strategy that takes place prior to those events. This past year, this past summer, it's been all on Lieutenant Jeanette and operational plans. And previously, it was Roger Aspinall. And there's been many in this building, but we meet for days, for weeks, on events where there's 20,000, 40,000, 100,000 people in this city. And at the end of the weekend, not even a car window broken. That doesn't happen by accident. It happens with good planning, good strategy, good effectiveness in carrying out the plan. Today and tomorrow, we have an event at the AMP with 8th grade students from all over the state, with several buses in the city of Providence. There's a lot of planning and action on behalf of the Providence Police that takes place. So that's where we are. This is not a celebration of numbers. This is more a report out, and every single day we drive to make this community a safer place. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That concludes what we'd like to report at end of year. Let me also echo, both the mayor and the colonel's remarks. It's because of the men and women in this police department on the street of Providence every single day, being visible, being active, being proactive, that makes us a better city, a safer city. And I salute them as well. Most can't be here, and they don't want to be here because they enjoy doing their job without recognition. But I can tell you, every officer that has been engaged and is responsible for the trend and the safety of our city, my hat off to them, and I salute them for the great work that they've done and the great work they're going to continue to do. I'll open it up for any questions that you may have and defer to either the mayor or the colonel, or answer it myself. Yes?
Are the 60 additional SWAT cameras part of the pilot program, or how are those being funded?
They are not a part of the pilot program. The 25 were. That didn't cost the city any money. We procured through the process, and we entered into a 3-year contract with the vendor to add 60 additional cameras at about $160,000 a year.
And how is public feedback been, knowing that the pilot program now is licensed program?
So the feedback, we have not extended. When we announced it publicly on the 25, we had about 110 people respond, and we talked about that publicly as well. A lot of people had some ideas and thoughts and also criticism of the program, some in which we've amended our draft policy and included for ideas that they had from the public, but overall, I think it's been very supportive across the community. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can you give an example of some bigger crimes that have been solved as a result of these cameras? You know, people who have been caught.
So the camera system, the LPRs, and I'll ask the colonel to speak to it, it's a lead. So our detectives and our patrol officers, when we get a crime, it's a lead. One of the 25 cameras that are up, we're looking for a blue car with a Florida plate, as an example. It's a lead in which we go and see if it's been recorded on any of the flock cameras. So we have not had, you know, hey, the flock camera solved this crime, but I don't think we're gonna get there. We're gonna play a significant role in a lead for the detectives and the patrol officers to go follow up with that car that was captured in that area around that time as a lead. It doesn't convict people, it's just a lead to solve some crime. Now, have we had those leads? Yeah, we have, and 25 is a number that was, you know, originally brought to the city. As we've spoken, when we increase that by 60, we're gonna cover the city pretty drastically in areas that have the highest amount of crime, and I think we're gonna see a lot of other leads, and look, it's a preventative thing. If you're gonna come to the city with a car, and most crimes are committed by a car, your chances of getting caught are pretty high. So don't come here, is our message, because you'll end up getting apprehended because of the good work of the Providence Police.
And just, I think that was right on, and I'm not sure if this is, you know, part of your question, but, you know, some folks think that, you know, the point of these cameras is to sort of catch crimes, you know, as they happen. You know, that's not how they work. That's not how they're set up. So we're not going to sort of record crimes as they happen. But as the commissioner mentioned, you know, when someone jumps into their car, if there is a lead or something to go on, that allows our police department to then, you know, go into the LPR system and see if that lead can take us somewhere else. But again, I'm not sure if that's where you're going with it, but just want to be clear that, you know, we're not, you know, it's impossible to sort of, you know, record every part of the city, and I don't think that's desirable. You know, the chances of, you know, recording crimes as they happen, that's not really the purpose of the system, so just to clarify.
Mark?
I think that you have the system because it improves, you think it improves the effectiveness of your operations in some way. So I think maybe what I'd be interested in seeing is any kind of metrics you have that show that increased effectiveness during the pilot program.
So yes, Mark, what I'd say is, and what I'd add, in general, it's been helpful in many felony assault type cases, separate and apart, shots fired, where we have a description of a vehicle, a partial plate. It's also been helpful in narcotics investigations, where we all know, in our experience, and you know through your reporting, where there are drugs and mid and large scale drug dealing, there are guns. And where there is mid and large scale drug dealing, there is violence. So it has been helpful in those two general areas. And as well, what I wanted to add is, by design, we indicated from the inception that we would be reporting out, auditing what we've uncovered in using it the first so many days or first couple of months, and that will be coming out shortly. And I think that report will glean many more questions from you as to how it's been effective, how it's been helpful. And what you'll see is, I mean, there's only 25 cameras, but they're capturing tens of thousands of plates every single day. And we said from the beginning, and it's so true, that, you know, thousands and tens of thousands are never even looked at because they haven't been reported in being involved in a crime. So it captures all those plates that go by the camera. The only ones we're concerned with are indications and intelligence of that gray Toyota with a partial plate of RA742, whatever. But we will report out during that audit more specifics that I think will be helpful towards that question. That's coming up very shortly.
I just wanted to throw it out there. I know last year, Providence Police as well as the city of Providence dealt with a lot of scrutiny when it came to the number of homicides we had, being in the mid-20s. To be down at 8 at this point in the year, what does that say about both the work done by the city, but the men and women here at Providence Police, and what does it mean to you to see the hard work of these men and women paying off for the people of Providence?
You know, one homicide's too many, right? Somebody getting killed at the hands of another human being, it should never happen in America, but it does. And when we see the numbers of homicides, and we don't only look at homicides, although they're important, you know, the numbers are relatively low when you look at statistically. But we do look at them, and when we see a dip, and that's why, you know, we don't look year over year, because there may be some spikes that cannot be, you know, specifically tied to a trend at all. So we look at that 5-year average in 10 years. This is an incredible low number of homicides. And why do we have such a low number? From my perception and view, it's because of the good work of the police department, right? There's a fear out there that you're going to be one of these folks that are carrying this weapon. And when you have that fear in the criminal element, that if you carry, and we're going to be aggressive in holding you accountable for carrying a gun, before you use that gun, that matters. And so I think the effectiveness is our aggression, targeting violence in guns, and as a result, our shootings are down, our homicides are down. We hope to get to 0 someday, but realistically, with the number of guns, that will never happen. But we're going to still strive to reduce that violence that's in our... All this is because of the men and women that are behind me or on the street, with the leadership, of course, and the focus of where crime is occurring. Data is data. It gives us an indication, and we try to use our tools to continue to use our resources in the most effective way, so we can prevent crime and not investigate crime.
Like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
it's a good question, and, you know, I spent half my career in detectives investigating hundreds of homicides, and we would always say in patrol and detectives, wouldn't it be great to get under 10, get into single digits? In the last 10 years, I believe twice we got to 11, and later in the year we hopped over into double digits. And not a one of them is acceptable. However, it has always been a goal of this department to try to get to low numbers. So you asked the question, and I've used this term before, we've become a lot more intelligence-led, intelligence-driven, and surgical in our approach in getting these weapons off the street. So it's no secret to me that 257 this year, that's like almost double what our average was the last 20 years. It's like 120 to 140 we would seize on routine. So this year right now, 257. Those guns taken off the streets, and oftentimes, many from individuals who we know not only prone to carry the gun, but more importantly, pull the trigger. There's been some big names who've been arrested in possession of a firearm. And as well, I'll say, the restraint used by the Providence Police, people marvel about this. We had a call the other day on the east side where an individual didn't have a gun, but he had a knife, and it was a situation, and everyone who read the report and everyone who spoke about it at the command staff meeting, you know, wiped their fingers across the forehead and said, you know what, that would have been a justified shooting. And our officers did not shoot. It was a taser incident, a less lethal incident. But we've had so many during the course of this past calendar year and past several calendars year. You look at the restraint used by the Providence Police in these high-level danger situations, and these are not easy arrests. Those are tough arrests. So, again, I praise that restraint.
So just to cap this off, there's a website online, 247wallstreet.com, something like that. But they did an interesting analysis. They looked at virtually every city in the country for the first half of the year and did a comparison of 2021 homicides to 2022 homicides. And so they ranked something like the top 46 cities. Where did Providence rank in cities that had the highest decrease in homicides? In the entire country, Providence ranked number 1. So you can check it out. Halfway through the year, we had 4 homicides. We're at 8 right now. The decrease is somewhere over 60%. It was 60% halfway through the year, I believe. Right now, it's over 60% decrease. And so if we were number 1 halfway through the year, I'm virtually certain that we're still number 1, at this time of the year. And it's really remarkable when you put it in context of all the cities throughout the country, who had the largest decrease in homicides year over year. Providence. That's one. As the commissioner and the chief has mentioned, most homicides are the weapon used is a gun. And so homicides happen because of guns. And when you take guns off the streets, that saves lives. And these 250 plus guns that have been seized, that translates directly to people that are still alive today that would not have been if these guns weren't taken off the street. The other piece of this, as the chief has mentioned, it's amazing arrests. One thing that we've learned about gun crime is that there are folks that are referred to as shooters, people who are known to pull the trigger. The quicker we could solve those cases, get those people off the streets and behind bars, the higher number of people that we know will not be shot, and homicides and shootings that will not happen. And so, the credit really goes to the good, proactive, constant policing of our police department in helping to keep us all safe. You put that all together, being data-driven, being community-oriented, and very much the professionalism and the training that our men and women have, you put that all together, and that's why we're a standout police department and really a model for the entire country. I've said it before and I'll say it again. While no police department is perfect, if you were to rank the best police departments in the entire country, Providence would be right there at the very top, if not the very top. And it's just a testament to the men and women and the proud tradition that we have here in the Providence Police Department.